Hello, welcome back to another episode of Selia the Eternal. We are basically exactly where we left off, for two reasons. First of all, I wasn't quite in the position that I wanted to be in order to beat the next mission, but also I realized that I hadn't shown you the final killing blow of the final enemy. So, we're going to play this out for the next 4 turns, and then we will go straight into the next mission. It should be relatively quick because, like I said, the next mission has a 10-turn requirement. Let's see. Yeah, we've got 26 turns. We'll just go ahead and end turn here. Alright. We get Orpha Kick revised. So one of the big benefits of taking some more turns is that we get to train Eien. Let's continue moving these guys down south. Let's train Shiah. Let's train Eien. I would like to get Eien to level 6 if possible. Just for my own benefit. I don't know that it's Eien is not going to be like a major role player in this team, but if I'm committed to trying to give her a fair shake, I might as well use her. Alright, now we've got our 2 formations in position. We have to leave Eien up here if we want to use the new units, and it turns out that we do want to use the new units. We've got Orpha and Selia, both at level 7, which is, I think, fine. We could probably take Orpha to level 8 for the extra Mind Shield. Yeah, let's take Orpha to level 8. Okay, let's not take Orpha to level 8 yet. End turn. She gets counterattack 2. This crucially gives her extra mind. So we really probably want to start using Eien as a defender, if we can at all. We want to start training Aselia. For a long time, I didn't think that training Aselia was important, but she does need to be able to 2-shot one enemy in particular, so we'll give her a couple of levels. We'll give her 2 levels. Let's train Orpha. She needs Liliana Yo-Yo. And we'll train Eien one more time. You're starting to see that we're starting to actually get more ether than we're using in a lot of cases. Which is a good thing. It's where we want to be. So let's see. Aselia gets Water Shield. And Orpha gets Mind Shield, right? Yes, okay. She gets Eien Sword. Which really doesn't do very much. It just has more uses and attacks more often. Which is kind of an underwhelming bonus to get, if I'm being perfectly honest. We'll train Aselia one more time. And I think we'll leave her there. Do we want to train Eien? No, I don't want to train Eien. All of our units are roughly about the same level at this point. It's level 30. I think we are where we need to be. And here we go. All according to plan. Just enough. Just enough to survive. Just enough to kill, just enough to survive. Okay. So, that is exactly turn 30. We have spent a lot of time leveling up our characters this turn. I'll go ahead and show all of this to you guys. Rank SS, I've got a bunch of extra mana. Destroyed every squad on the map. That's me. So the first time that you complete mission 4, this is going to be quite a big surprise, because you are likely going to be totally out of position for this, which makes the SS rank pretty much impossible without prior knowledge of the twist here, right? The game kind of suggests that you send at least a unit back towards this direction in order to get Yumina Ice, but I imagine most players, myself included, are going to end Mission 4 with most, if not all, of their formations over in Samodoa, which means that you are basically not going to be able to complete this mission on a first try. But, fortunately for us, or fortunately for me, I guess, I have done the bare minimum amount of research necessary, and I have adjusted my strategy for the previous mission based on this mission's requirements. High-level spirits is a bit of a stretch, but they are definitely en route to Rakios from Samodoa. We already have everything built that we need. We are very prepared for this, because I have planned to make sure that we can get a turn 10 completion of this mission. Case in point, the vast majority of our fighting force is already in position here. Sword release is something that we are not going to be using. It is sort of a last-ditch effort to take a unit that has been leveled up and convert all of their levels back into mana. It is... I'm not going to say that it's not worth it, but it is considered a spirit death by the game, so there are certain things that you are locked out from when you use it. And then here's the rundown on Black Spirits. We already have a Black Spirit, so we kind of understand how Black Spirits are supposed to work. I'm, again, not convinced that Black Spirits are very good, either as enemies or as allies, but the main heroine that I have selected for this playthrough is a Black Spirit, so I guess we'll find out, right? Definitively, one way or the other, whether or not Black Spirits are any good. The basic idea of a Black Spirit is that they are designed to do damage, whereas a Blue Spirit is designed to do damage with single big hits, or a Red Spirit designed to do damage with spells. Black Spirits are designed to kill with 1,000 cuts. The idea is that when a Black Spirit defends, they deal damage to the attacker, and then when they attack, they have a high enough number of hits per battle that they can attack enemies directly after exhausting all of their defense charges. In practice, I don't know that it really works that way. It is possible that as we get further into the game, that will become more and more more and more of a viable strategy, but as it is right now, that hasn't really been necessary. We can either brute force defenders with characters like Himiko or Yuto, or we even have characters like Nelly or Nellie, I'm not sure which one it is in this case, that can already attack 3 times anyway, which kind of beats the Black Spirit at their own game, so to speak. Their support skills are probably their most interesting component because they can't be interrupted by banish skills and because they do things that other support skills don't do. They also tend to, at least for Hellion, have a pretty detrimental impact on their mind, which means that I am kind of incentivized to not use it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And then we have new recruits. I'll talk about these in a second. Selia is a 7th rank. Nanaru is also a 7th rank, so in theory these are better than our previous units, which were all 8th rank units, or 8th rank spirits. And we get a new engineer, so we can build more stuff. Great. Aselia levels up, doesn't get anything from it except for some more stats, which is nice. Alright, so let's talk about our units. First of all, we got to put these units in with Hellion, because Hellion is the only unit that's in Ricaros. Let's talk about Selia. Selia is, out of the box, very strong. She's actually one of the stronger characters that we have access to right now. She's better than probably the majority of our blue spirits, maybe even better than Aselia, depending on how you use her. She has more attacks. Impulse Blow is attack that we saw from the enemies in the previous mission, is deceptively strong because it attacks twice. So you actually do quite a bit more damage than you expect to, the same way that Double Swing does quite a bit more damage than you expect to. But Selia comes with 3 attacks, 2 defensive skills, and both Banisher 1 and Banisher 2. So she is fully kitted out and fully ready to go. She is already very good, and we will probably use her quite a bit. Whereas a character like Shiah, for example, is more defensively minded with more bulk and a better defensive skill. Now, Nanaru, as I should say, on the other hand, is not very good. At least not yet. If you look down here, you see that Firebolt has a potency, a power of 80. That's pretty bad. That would be pretty bad at Mission 1. If you remember back to Mission 1, Orpha started out with her own version of Firebolt that did 400 more power. So, what is that? 600% more than Nanaru did? So even on Mission 1, Nanaru would be pretty underwhelming. Now that we're in Mission 5, she's basically unusable, at least as she is currently. This sort of suggests that you need to level her up a little bit. And if you do level her up a little bit, you are sort of rewarded for that. That being said, I'm not sure that it's worth it. I mean, it's good, but I'm not sure that it's that good. You know, we'll see. This is we only have one mission to judge her by, so it's hard to say how she'll play out in the future. But as of right now, I'm not super excited about her. We could train Shiah and Aselia again, but I don't think that we need to. I think if anything, maybe we train Aselia one more time and then move everybody over. F2, F3, which should give us enough time to attack this enemy here. So let's just train Aselia one more time, just because we can. I don't know that we get anything out of it, but it's something that we want to do. And we're going to leave Yuto's team here, because as you see, we cannot not progress. But given the way that this mission starts, as you can probably imagine, the very next mission is going to be a pincer maneuver against Samodoa. So we want to leave this unit here, and that is in fact the reason why we left this unit here, because this unit is self-sufficient and competent, so they can handle realistically most of the things that the game's going to throw at us at this point. They're not like the most offensive or the most defensive, but they have the ability to heal themselves, they have the ability to banish skills, so on and so forth, right? Whereas F1 is probably more directly powerful, but not quite as flexible, if we're being honest. This is the end of turn 1. We're going to end turn here. I'll explain why we're doing things the way that we're doing in a second. We get Water Shield 3, which is pretty good, it turns out. And we're going to start moving our units over this way, because we do have to kill these 3 units before the end of turn 10, which is a little tricky to do. It took a little bit of finagling to figure it out. I'm not going to lie to you, I did spend some time on this mission. Fortunately, I didn't spend as much time on this mission as I did on mission 4, but I did spend enough time on this mission for it to be worth mentioning. And something will happen here at the end of turn 3 that you might not be expecting. Suddenly, the units start moving. Now, here's the gimmick of this mission. We cannot physically progress past this node, right? This node is X'd out in the same way that this node is X'd out, right? We physically cannot move our characters to that position. So we have to be able to defeat these 3 enemies while letting them come to us, essentially, right? The other wrinkle here is that the enemies will not move into us, I don't think. So we have to be able to kill these enemies, but then leave room for the next enemy to progress, right? And that becomes sort of the challenge. There's a little bit of a puzzle here in terms of figuring out how to kill these enemies fast enough that you are leaving room for the next formation to advance. Alright, so we're on turn 4. Let's move some characters around a little bit between F1 and F4. We want Aselia, we want Shiah, and we want Orpha in Unit 4. And we're going to attack with them. Now there's a little bit of a trick here. This unit has Ice Vanisher 3, which, to be perfectly honest, is overkill for this point in the game. Considering that it can banish up to level 7 skills, I don't even know what a level 7 skill looks like, to be honest with you. I'm sure it's very scary, but thankfully this supporter is here to prevent us from being able to do that. However, this supporter can only use Ice Vanisher once per turn, once per battle, whereas we can use Firebolt twice. So technically, we can be kind of annoying about this and get some chip damage in, even though they are going to banish our first Firebolt. And this turns out to be relatively necessary. Like I said, the requirements for this mission are pretty tight, so the fact that we can get this chip damage in at all is pretty important. Likewise, I do think that the levels on Aselia actually matter quite a bit, if I had to guess. Because she is going to be one of our main DPS characters for this mission. So the fact that we were able to get extra 3 or 4 levels on her by taking an extra 3 or 4 turns on the last mission is actually pretty key here. And that's kind of what my experience with Aselia the Eternal has been, is that the mission requirements for these missions, the turn requirements for these missions, has actually been like surprisingly well thought out. I don't feel like we actually have that much leeway. There hasn't really been a situation where I've been able to finish a mission super early and felt good about it. Mission 3, for example, we needed those turns in order to gain mana or to level up Yuto, who ended up being kind of like the main carry for that mission. Likewise, with Mission 4, we needed those turns in order to continue leveling up our characters because of how tight the requirements are for this mission. It just ends up being kind of a whole thing, right? And then here we're going to do Himiko, and we're going to do Aselia as a defender. Pretty generic, pretty simple. Himiko's going to beat up this attacker, so, you know, we're in a good spot. Now, these enemies move at the end of every third turn. So they move on turn 3, turn 6, and turn 9, with one exception. So technically speaking, we have 2 turns to defeat each formation, right? Because we need to be out of the way of the third formation. You get the idea. With one exception, and I'll talk about that exception when we get to it. But once you know sort of how the AI for this mission works, it becomes a little bit more manageable, in my opinion. Again, this is much more of a puzzle than it is like an actual strategy mission, right? This mission is short enough that you can really iterate on it. No skill yet, which is disappointing. And then here's our ether pool. So we're going to build a level 2 converter, because we can. We could actually probably build even more than that, but we don't want to go crazy just yet. And we do want to save some of our ether to begin training our units over here, right? Because this unit has to be self-sufficient, whereas this unit can be a lot more flexible. We also want to train Nanaru, so let's do that. And we have 4,600 ether remaining, and we refine 2,000 per turn. So not perfect, but not awful. And then we're going to attack with formation 1 again. But we'll just have Aselia attack because, you know, we only need to do 200 damage here. Just like that. Now this is turn 5, so these enemies aren't going to move yet, but they will move after the end of turn 6, right? And again, I'll show you next turn, but we can't move past this, so we can't be too aggressive, right? The game doesn't want us to take Samodoa by accident, I guess, is really the end result there. Now, we can level up these units here. There's a couple things that we could do. We could level up Eien, who probably needs it the most, if we're being honest, or we can level up Nelly, or we can level up Yuto. Yuto is probably going to be our biggest bang for our buck because of how powerful he is, but Nelly is the lowest level, and she's in fact the lowest level character in our squadron, in our roster, period, right, at level 4. Whereas everybody else is at least level 6, except for Selia, but Selia is quite a bit stronger at this point. So let's level up Nelly, and if she gets an extra attacking skill, that'll be a huge bonus. It'll be a huge boon for us. And what do we get? Oh, we get Flame Shower. So, this is the reason why we use Nanaru. She has an 800 power AoE skill. Nelly gets Sleep Attack. Great. Exactly what we wanted. Now if you look at Orpha here, she has Flame Shower of 670 potency. So right off the bat, with just that alone, those 2 levels, this one skill justifies Nanaru's usage on our roster, right? I'm not going to say that that's perfect. I don't necessarily like that she's that one-dimensional. See how we can't move any forward? I don't necessarily like that she's that one-dimensional, But the fact that she has that niche is pretty important, in my opinion. So again, we're in sort of the same boat. We could level up Yuto, we could level up Nelly, we could level up Halion. Honestly, again, Halion probably needs it the most out of any of our characters. I just don't know if she's going to get something good, right? If she got accurate block 3, it would be worth it. But I can't guarantee that she's going to get accurate block 3 is the problem. So I'm a little gun shy about training her. So let's just train Nelly. She's our cheapest unit to level currently. So she's pretty low risk in that regard. And we'll train we'll train her. So we now have 3 units that we have to kill again. 2 of these units are going to move on the end of this turn and the end of turn 9. This other final unit, because it popped up on turn 6, will not move until the end of turn 9. Wait, is that right? End of turn 6. Whatever. You get the you'll see. You'll see how it works. No, they'll all move at the end at turn 9, I think. I'm getting my details mixed up. Essentially, the idea is that we will have 1 turn. We'll train Halion here just to see what happens. We're going to have 1 turn to kill. One of these units will have to be killed in 1 turn. That's what I'm trying to say. Let's go F1. Formations here. We want Shiah, because we want her in the supporter role, so we don't need her to attack. Whereas Selia is a stronger attacker. And we want double swing, accurate block 3, and Ice Banisher 1. I do think that the Black Spirits have pretty cool animations. I just don't think that they're very good. I think I said this in the Mission 4 video. I think the spirits themselves would be more interesting and would maybe have more appeal if they were using different types of weapons. I think it's a little bit underwhelming that all of the green spirits use spears, all of the blue spirits use swords, and all of the red spirits use twin blades, but I digress. You know, it is what it is. It's not something to lose sleep about, you know? I lose enough sleep as it is. I don't need to lose any more. And then with 4, we attack again. We're going to use Leap Attack 2. And we're going to use Fireball. Assuming that I can read this correctly. Actually, if anything, we should probably use Flame Shower, because they do the exact same potency. Oh, do I want to test it? I do kind of want to test it. They do the same potency, so it shouldn't matter. I've tested this already, but again, just in case, maybe your Aselia is level 6 instead of level 7. This Aselia should one-shot the supporter, but in case she doesn't, Flame Shower should do the exact same amount of damage as Fireball. It should just be the safer option, but I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out, right? She did one shot. So I guess we'll see if they really do the same potency. If there's like a... I'm wondering if maybe there's like a damage fall off because of AoE versus single target, but it doesn't look like it. That looks like it did the same amount of damage. So Aselia should one-shot here. And we do have enough bulk to survive that because the black spirits kind of suck. There we go. The black spirits really went wild in the acting booth, voice acting booth. Okay, let's see what we get from Hallian. Ooh, a new class. Wow, that is a lot faster than I was expecting. Interesting. No, you're right. Level 10. She should promote to Ostet because she has over 50 mind. I don't know if that's good or not. I think that it's good. She gains the ability to heal someone for 45%. That's interesting. Not quite what I wanted, but also not bad. Also not bad. We have, I think, exactly enough mana? No, we don't. So we could level up Nelly, or we could level up Yuto. I'm going to choose to level up Yuto, so we'll save our mana, or our ether for next turn. This is turn 8, so we want to vacate this node so that this next enemy will come up and attack us. Again, they will not advance into us, they will only advance into empty space, which makes this mission, I think, considerably harder. You have to be very deliberately aggressive, right? You can't rely on the enemy sort of throwing themselves at you. You have to give them space to move into you, and then you kind of wipe them out. This enemy is either proximity based or it's based on when you kill the first formation. If you get here too late, they never show up, right? And so where we are right now, they will advance on turn 10, which is exactly when we want them to advance. Okay, I'm going to move Shiah over here. No, we're not. I'm sorry. We want... No, we do want Shiah over here. We're going to do Aselia, Shiah, Orpha. We're going to do Selia, Hallian, and Nanaru, and then we're going to do Asperia and Himika. So, Aselia. We're going to give her Leap 1 because we need to preserve her Leap 2 charges. And we are going to use Firebolt again. I think. I imagine we're going to use the same strategy. I guess we'll find out. I think this is correct. My notes don't actually say. But I assume that we use Firebolt here because I assume that we need the extra damage, right? A lot of these enemies have, a lot of these formations have the same composition, so the math doesn't actually change that much. Blah, 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 blah. I do have to say, I think I prefer fighting against blue spirits in the supporter role than I do against red spirits, because I think you have a little bit more flexibility, whereas when you're fighting against red spirits, you pretty much have to have a blue spirit in the supporter role, which is, I don't know, I just don't find that to be super engaging, to be honest with you. Interesting. I guess we have three formations to attack this enemy, so I'm not that upset about it. And then they're going to attack us 2 more times. You notice that they're really not doing very much damage. A single blue spirit probably would have killed us by now. Even a black spirit, totally unguarded, right, without a single defender, does less damage than a impulse blow blue spirit does against a defender. It's kind of crazy, actually. We're gonna use Selia with impulse blow. It doesn't really matter what we use Nanaru for, but we'll just put her in flame shower just for the fun of it. We should actually be able to get some decent mind here, although Eien only blocks 1 time. So we're gonna actually use counterattack 1 here because we're not in any danger from the attacker. Although I'm actually not sure that it matters. In theory, this is a total increase in amount of mind that you get, right? I think in practice it maybe doesn't matter, but it's a good habit to get into, right? Eien is going to be the one unit that we really struggle with to keep mind at a certain level. But I think that the types of skills that they learn changes based on what promotion path they come into, right? Whether one of them's better or not, I don't know. I think maybe if you end up in like the low mind promotion path, they get skills that are better at low mind, and you end up in the high mind path, you end up with skills that are better at high mind. But given that you will have low mind by default if you do not manage it at all, I have to imagine that being in the high mind progression path is probably better. But I don't know that for sure. And then Selia should kill here. Should kill the attacker at least. Oh, she doesn't. Okay. So it is a good thing that we moved Eien to counterattack 1. Because she got +6 mind instead of +3 mind. I guess maybe she gets plus mind because she's glad to be alive. I don't know, that seems a little bleak, doesn't it? I hadn't heard that before. And then we attack with Asperia Himika. It may be our destiny to fight, you're right. I think I might have done this in a different order than I had in my notes. I'm not sure how much it matters. I guess we'll find out, right? If I have to redo this again, I guess I'll do it tomorrow. They just let them go wild in the booth, didn't they? That's a very evocative death call. Bam! Okay. Now, crucially, they're going to end this where we're not in this node, so this unit will advance up, right? And that's actually a pretty big deal. Let's go ahead and level up Yuto, because I said that I would. That's actually a pretty big deal, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to kill this unit, right? So it seems like a big deal that we weren't able to defeat that one formation. It actually works out just fine for us. And let's see, we've got 3,800. We have to end this turn. Let's go ahead and train Nelly here, because I don't know that we're going to have much of a chance to train anybody this next battle. Okay, we're on turn 10. This is make or break. We have to finish this turn, or otherwise we do not get the SS rank. We're going to move Shiah to formation 1, and we're going to use Aselia and Orpha to defeat this enemy here. We've got Leap Attack 2, we've got Fireball. So we have plenty of damage for this unit. The Fireball doesn't matter because they'll just banish it, but it's the thought that counts. It's the thought that counts. The reason why we're using Orpha here is because she just does less damage than Nanaru does, and it actually ends up mattering here, so it is optimal to use Orpha here even though she is not doing anything. Okay, now, this enemy has Flame Shower. Flame Shower does a lot of damage. It feels like it does more damage to us than our flame showers do to the enemies. So, for that reason, we cannot afford to take this hit. We have to have a blue spirit here in order to block Flame Shower. Right? Pretty straightforward, right? So this is non-negotiable. However, if we can kill this defender, because this supporter has lower HP than this attacker is, we will attack the supporter second. Which means that in theory, we can kill the supporter in the second round of combat, and it won't matter if we have a blue spirit or not. Which means that we can then use Nanaru with Flame Shower to do a bunch of damage to the whole formation, right? That is the crux of this whole strategy. This is the whole reason why we leveled up Nanaru at all for this mission. Is because Orpha is not strong enough to do this, but Nanaru is. Okay? It's literally that simple. That's it. That's literally all it comes down to, is can we make this supporter vulnerable enough that we can afford to use Flame Shower next turn, or next fight. Assuming that I wrote down my notes properly, we should be able to. Because Himika, with Double Strike, should be able to defeat this defender, which then makes the supporter vulnerable. Shiah will banish this spell, so they won't be able to hurt us. Which is what we want. Right? Perfect. Nanaru kills this defender. She does almost 800 damage that time, so we do plenty of damage there. I think we did like 600 damage plus 800 damage, which is 1400 damage total. Asperia is not in any danger, we're fine, right? Okay. So, because we were able to preserve that double strike, that double swing, we were able to kill the defender, which then makes this supporter vulnerable. Because this supporter is vulnerable, we can then attack them with Impulse Blow, and then finish them off with Flame Shower, which coincidentally will also do enough damage to the attacker that we can defeat the attacker with the follow-up attack from Selia, right? This mission reminds me a lot of Mission 1, where it's actually surprisingly precise, given the amount of opportunities that you've had to make the wrong decision. I don't know. I feel like it's probably possible to put yourself into a position at this point where it is actively impossible to get an SS rank. This might be the first mission where that's been the case. I don't know that for sure, but that's kind of how it feels. She does a lot of damage. They attack Hellion. Hellion gets some bonus mine. She should be at like 60 now, I think. And then we kill with Impulse Blow. And there is our 10-turn victory for this mission. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was easy, but there's quite a few less moving parts with this one compared to the mission before this, so I'm quite a bit happier with this, I think. Bonus mana, bonus ether. And there we go. That's going to be the end of Mission 5, and that's going to be the end of this video. We should have a small story segment next, and then we will have Mission 6 after that. Thanks for watching.